Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. Today I have Madden Zappa on, who is a dating coach whose goal is to help you break your patterns so you can date differently. She's also the host of We're Dating the Same Guy podcast, and she's also one of my friends, which I'm so lucky to say. I believe in healthy relationships. I believe that healthy relationships and partnerships can change your life. And, if you're looking for a healthy, intentional partnership, this is the episode for you. Madden walks through her past experiences and the wisdom she's gained from each relationship, the places that maybe she knew she needed to grow, and the places that she's healed that have gotten her to a place where she's able to really manifest the right relationship. I think that not only is our own individual healing going to magnetize and manifest the person we want to be with, our person, but it also helps us hold that relationship when it comes so we can be in that relationship well. So, again, for anyone who's looking to manifest their dream partnership and become a healthier partner, this is the episode for you. Madden has so much wisdom, and I'm just so excited for you guys to join in on this convo. And let's dive in. Hey everyone, I'm here with Madden Zappa to talk all things dating. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. How's your Thursday?
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Thursday has been a wild day, but we're here. We made it.
What have you been up to today? Have you been, because you do coaching, you also,
Yep.
I just saw that you lead a pole dancing class too. Like, you do so much stuff. Has any of that been a part of your morning?
Yeah, so basically the whole entire morning has been just all teaching classes. So I taught 5 classes all back to back from 6 a.m. to noon.
Oh.
And then once that last class ended, I was like, I'm out of here.
Do you get drained? Because I feel like when I do too much in-person stuff, like, I love the remote part of my work because I'm like, too much in-person stuff like will really drain me.
Mm-hmm. It depends on the class.
Yeah.
I teach so many different styles and so many different types of classes that they kind of all balance each other out. So, for example, today I taught a yoga class and then a Pilates inspired class that's not Pilates, but it's inspired by it, and then a strength class, and then so just a lot of different types that it just keeps you going, and so it all balances in each other out.
Yeah. That's a lot of like flip-flopping from different styles and like different like energy levels and different versions of yourself. I feel like that would be hard.
At this point in my life, I think I'm used to it. I compare it to anyone who has trained for some sort of extreme sport or who
Yeah.
has been an athlete in their past, that eventually your body just adapts to what it is that you're doing. And so I think that's the similar thing to teaching, that over time you just adapt to, this is what it is I do.
Okay, I was gonna that's actually such a good piece of advice because I've done pretty much only remote things and I've started to do more in-person life things and my body can't handle it. But I'm
Yeah.
like, hopefully it will.
Yes. Give yourself time.
Okay, amazing. Well, do you want to give people a little intro, just like a little intro about like what you're up to, and you can talk about what you do, or you also could just talk about who you are, who Madden is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hi, friends. I'm Madden. I like to say that I'm a fitness professional by day and then a dating coach by night, as well as a podcast host. So I also host a podcast called We're Dating the Same Guy that's all about our dating patterns and why we continuously date the same types of people over and over again. Outside of work life mode, I'm a yogi at heart. So you'll either find me on my yoga mat, in the dance studio, or out in the mountains doing something. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I love that. And when I heard your podcast name, I was like, I thought it was like we're dating the same guy, like you and me would be dating the same guy. But then
Yeah.
you were like, the pun of it is that we're both like, we're dating the same guy with the same patterns that we've dated, like with different faces. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so like genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. I loved it. What made you combine like dating coaching with the whole fitness world? Like, what made you get into dating and relationships and be interested in that?
Yeah.
Because it's very different from the whole world of fitness, like being in person even, and like being like physicality to like the,
Yeah.
you know. dating coach in more remote internal world. So
Yeah. Well, the fitness world was never my long-term plan. It
okay.
just, or I shouldn't even say long-term, my full-time career path
Yeah.
that it is right now. It just unfolded and unraveled to be that for right
Mhm.
now. But in terms of dating coach and its evolution, I back in college, I originally went to school to be a marine biologist. And I
Mm.
had an incident with my roommate where we had a fish tank in our room and one of the fish jumped out of the tank and I couldn't touch it. It freaked me out. It grossed me out so bad. I was like, "Oh, this might be the wake-up call that I need, that if I can't touch a little fish, that this might not be the career path that I want to go down." And so the next semester, I took a sociology class and it was
Mhm.
called Intimate Relationships.
Mm.
And to this day, I think it was one of the best classes I've taken in my entire undergrad and graduate school career.
Yeah.
And it essentially studied marriage and relationships across decades as well as across cultures. So we talked about what is the divorce rate and how is that actually calculated? What is the rate of successful marriages in all these different cultures, and why is it that way, and how do these cultures view marriage and relationships versus how we view it here in the States. And it was just so fascinating to me, and so that sparked my interest in more of the social sciences. And so my undergrad was in psychology, and then
Mhm.
I went on to get my graduate degree in mental health and law because I thought I wanted to go to law school.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Not the case, not the case. But while I went abroad for my undergrad, or rather my graduate degree, and while I was over there, the whole world of spirituality was kind of introduced to me. I grew up Catholic and very much struggled with Catholicism the last year or two that I was in high school, and then I went to a Catholic college and tried to practice, but it still didn't feel quite at home to me.
Yeah.
And so when I was abroad, really started dabbling with spirituality and was kind of introduced to a lot of that world and how you can still believe in something that's higher than us and all that stuff. I digress. But anyways, I was introduced to spirituality, which then somehow segued into introducing me into the life coaching space.
Mm.
And there was one coach in particular that I followed that she started as a business coach, but then evolved into a sensuality coach. And I really had wanted to work with her on the business side. And then when she flipped her business and went into sensuality, I still was following her and I was so fascinated by what she was doing. And yet it made me so uncomfortable at the exact same time. And so that invited me to turn inward within my own self to explore, what does this all mean with me? Why am I
Yeah.
so uncomfortable by it? How can I really start to embody what I think sensuality means? How can I start to embody what femininity means? All while also struggling with a relationship at the same time.
Ooh.
And so when that relationship ended, I was now in the coaching space, but more in the fitness world.
Mhm.
I really wanted to dabble and I really wanted to enter into this realm, but there was something in me that still didn't feel aligned. I still felt as though I would be coaching from not an authentic place because
Mm.
I still had things to work on within
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
So, fast forward like 3 or 4 years, I did so much inner work, so much healing. I think I've experienced so many types of relationships in that time that eventually I got to a point where it's like everything is finally clicking and I finally feel that I'm ready to come into this space and actually talk about it, also from a
Mhm.
healed perspective and from a healed place, not from a I don't even know that I'm trying to heal myself in the process talking
Yep.
about it.
Yep. Because a lot of people will go into coaching and it's like they're talking about it as they're learning and as they're interested, which isn't wrong,
Yeah.
but it is different for you to come and be like, I am ready to coach. I know
Yeah.
my shit and I
Yeah.
feel good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you trustworthy too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love
that was
that.
like a very long-winded way of saying how I got here.
But I feel like it's always long-winded. I feel like anyone who gets into this space, like it has to be. You have to have like 30 different like career things and failures and confusions to be able to like I think it's just like a part of it,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur. I feel like you need a lot in life.
Right. And entrepreneurs, I feel like, are always pivoting
Yes.
to follow their hearts and follow what's being told to them in the moment. So, yeah.
Do you have a sense that this is going to be around for a while, or do you feel like, okay, I'm going to keep pivoting? Or does it feel like,
This is like, this feels it.
oh my God, that's
Mm-hmm.
craziness.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into a little of your dating history. Talk
Yeah.
about like Madden pre feeling her healthiest, most healed self. Like, I don't even know how far back we want to take it, maybe into your 20s, or if before there was like a really significant relationship.
Yeah.
Just like talking through your dating history, a bit of like maybe the archetypes of type of people we were dating, or any relationships that were, you know, had a hit on you in some way.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like I have just like a handful of really significant relationships that
yeah.
I've been in, and then situationships and whatnot. Those can just
Mm-hmm.
like drift to the side.
Yeah.
I really didn't date much in high school and college. I had like one or two relationships in college, but
Yeah.
I was that girl who was so focused on her studies and
Mm-hmm.
so focused on her career, which I still am, but I was just so in my own lane. And there are sometimes where today I'm like, wow, I could really use some of her energy now. That focus and that determination and drive, like, snaps for past me. Like, I'm so proud of her. But after college, I had a pretty significant relationship that actually took me through grad school, and it's what brought me
Wow.
back to Minnesota after grad school. And to this day, like, he is still my longest relationship. We were together for probably a little over 4 years,
Wow.
somewhere in that realm, somewhere around 4 years. And our dynamic was really interesting that now when I look back on it, I kind of ask myself, why was I in it? Because we had nothing in common
Oh my
besides
gosh.
fitness. Fitness was
Yeah.
what we really related on and connected on, but otherwise, our worlds were
Mm-hmm.
so drastically
Yeah.
different that when I look back on how were we able to connect on a deeper level and what types of conversations were we able to have, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you what it is we talked about. And I remember so distinctly, he came to visit me in London for the first time when I lived there. And I was so excited to see him because obviously you're typically really excited to see your boyfriend. I remember sitting next to him on the tube being like, what the fuck am I going to talk to this man about for a week while he's here?
And he's your boyfriend.
Exactly. And then we still continued to date for another 2.5 years after that. But I feel like that relationship for both of us, we had so much growing within ourselves to
Yeah.
do that I think we were almost a comfort for each other.
Mm.
And I don't even want to say a security blanket, but it was just easy. We didn't know what else to do. And so we kind of were just a default for each other. Where I truly think if him and I were to sit down right now next to each other and ask ourselves, should we have been in that relationship? I obviously can't speak for him, but I think we both would have been like, we should not have been in that relationship for as long as we were.
Yeah.
And so that one was just a pivotal moment for me to start really asking myself, why are you actually dating these people? Like, what is it that kept you here if at the end of the day you don't even have a basis of a friendship?
Yeah.
So once that relationship ended, I would say I got into another relationship pretty quickly after that, probably 4 or 5 months after. In this relationship was the spicy, steamy, I am just
Yes.
so lust, like I just have
Yeah.
so much lust for you. And him and I did have a lot more in common, and we were able to have deeper conversations. We also were doing long distance. So we met when he was here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He lived in Colorado, and I call him my fairy tale relationship. So we matched on a dating app. He then was back in Colorado when we started talking. I was like, I don't want to talk to you if you're in Colorado. I don't want to do a long distance relationship. He flew out here for our first date, and I canceled on him because I was too terrified to go. So he flew back to Colorado and then came back for our first date where I actually showed up. And we just connected so well. And then I flew out there once, he flew out here, and it just felt like a fairy tale, but it was definitely a relationship that was truly all chemistry, that it was just magnetic. You just felt drawn to each other. And even though we had more things in common, I think it was that chemistry that kept bringing us back together, to the point where he still would come and go and fade in and out, probably for about 2 years after that
Oh no.
dynamic ended. Yeah.
After like you guys were like in a relationship, and
Hmm.
then you guys kind of had like a situationship after in a way, or like
Yeah.
kind of.
It ended really weird. I've been ghosted so many times.
No.
Never have I been ghosted by a boyfriend.
Did
And
he ghost you?
oh, girl, he came out here. He was coming out here for a friend's birthday. And so I knew I wasn't going to see him the first day that he was here. But then the next day we were planning to get together. I texted him the next day asking, what's the plan?
Yeah.
When do you want to meet up?
Yeah.
Didn't hear from him.
How
The
long were
next
you
day,
guys dating?
the next day rolls around. I'm an anxious mess. This relationship really highlighted that I'm also an anxious attachment person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like also anyone in this situation would be anxious. The next day rolled around. I didn't hear from him. It was either Monday or Tuesday. Whenever he flew back to Colorado, he then texted me saying, I don't know if you want a conversation at this point. I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean you don't? Of course I fucking want a conversation at this point. Yeah. Um, to which he said, I just don't think I can give you what you want, yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. No clue what he was doing while he was here. I don't really want to know. It's besides the point. And then a full year later, he reached back out to me apologizing. And that kind of just opened the door to another back and forth dynamic for another year.
Oh.
It was,
Bad.
yeah, I should have known better, but chemistry, blessed.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So how long were you guys in a relationship before it became a situationship?
It started so fast and it ended so fast. 3 months.
Okay. Okay, amazing. Not
But
amazing, but like that's crazy. The ghosting thing is like so horrible, but it makes sense like when somebody comes back in, you might be like, "Oh, well maybe they've changed or maybe they've thought
yeah,
about things and maybe they're more mature and like um you didn't really close it before, so it makes sense that you would be like having questions and wanting to go
yeah.
back into it."
And I think the older I get and the more relationships that I've been in, every relationship is so different
Mhm.
that I think in the past I'd be like, the 3 month relationship and you're so sad. What is wrong with you? Just move on.
Mhm.
But every relationship truly has its different speed and its different pace. And with this man, we were doing distance. Him and I would talk or FaceTime, I kid you not, every single day for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so when you have that connection, again, I have so many opinions on communication in early stages of dating now,
Yeah.
but past me did not know and did not think about this.
Yes.
Um, but when you have that constant connection and that constant communication every single day,
Mhm.
it's also building up that intimacy in your mind.
Yeah, and it's moving it really fast. So
Yes,
it's probably moving it at a level that maybe other people would take like 8 months to get or maybe even a year and like moving it really fast,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you had like the first relationship, which was like a very different opposite lesson, being like, I need to find someone that I actually love talking to and that I actually like feel more of that spark with. And then the second, you probably flip flopped and were like, I want to find the other thing,
exactly. Massive flip
Yeah.
flop.
Yeah.
And then a few months went by after that relationship, and then I had another relationship. So that one ended in May, and then I started dating this other man in August. Him and I had a really good relationship for the first 5 or 6 months.
Hmm.
And again, I do think he also would say a lot of the similar things that I'm about to say as well. And he again, none of these men are bad men. I just want to make that very
Yeah.
clear. Um, Him and I had a really good relationship for the first 6 months, and then
Hmm.
he what was he going? I think he was going through something business wise or whatnot, but something started to shift in
Hmm.
how we were both showing up. And I felt like he was no longer showing up for me at the equal level that I was showing up for him.
Yeah.
easy example of this, we were dating for a couple months, and I was moving out of my apartment, and not once did he offer to help me move. Like,
Yeah.
not once
No.
did he offer to help. And all I got, I think that later that day, was, how did your move go? Like, little things like that. And then another example, I wanted him to meet two of my best friends, and he had a long day at work, and he made it known that he had a long day at work, and that he was doing it just for me, to meet my two of my best friends. I was like, oh, okay. So things really, really started to shift, and him and I had a really good pacing. That was one thing that I really appreciated. He had a busy life, I had a busy life, so we kind of had a schedule cadence going of,
Yeah.
we would see each other certain days of the week. And I don't think that's a bad plan for a certain amount of time. That can
Yeah.
only last for a certain while, but it continued to go that way. And so in this relationship, I learned how to start speaking up for myself, and
Mm.
start speaking up for what I feel like I'm getting, and what I feel like I deserve, and what I'm not okay with.
Mm-hmm.
However, this relationship also taught me that as soon as I feel that way, and if I communicate that, and
It's not changing.
it's not changing, that's your sign to leave. And I didn't. Instead, I chose to take the label off of what we had, but we continued to date. I've made a lot of stupid decisions in my dating life.
I know they sound stupid, but also it's like it looks stupid, or it looks like you didn't know as much because you didn't know as much. It's like the only way to know.
Yeah.
And you say that now because you're looking at it from where you're at, but you weren't at that perspective in that time,
Yeah.
you know?
So we talked about it, and then he did start to change. And then he did start to step up. And when he did, I felt myself checking out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. I still true, like, to my core, I believe that once I decide at some point that I'm done, and I don't actually end it, and I don't walk away, it's me just staying to stay. And so I think in the back of my mind, when I had that conversation previously, I think that was also me being done. And yet I didn't walk.
Mm. Yeah.
Because
Your
there were
body.
feelings. There were feelings for him. We had been with each other for about a year. Like, it's hard not to have feelings for someone when you've been with them for so long. And there were so many qualities in him that I really admired. He was also an entrepreneur. He was so driven, and he had built this beautiful business for himself. And that's so attractive, to see a man have a vision, have a goal, and then just crush it, and see him succeed in that. There were lots of qualities that he exhibited by doing that I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that is a man, and I really like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that relationship taught me so many things.
It's also
And
only one aspect, or one part of being a man, right? Or
exactly.
being a partner,
Exactly.
right? Having your stuff together. It's also, you need a lot of those emotional and relational skills. And if you're going to be in a long term relationship, they need to be able to be consistent. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that you were like, I'm done. And I've had that with friendships too, or just in general, when you decide you're done, it's really like staying past when you know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of prolonging what you already know.
Yeah.
You know?
I then have a pattern of not completely closing doors. And so obviously we then revisited this relationship. I think a year after we ended, 2 years after we ended, I can't remember, but we revisited this relationship, and we went on about 2 or 3 dates. And
No.
y'all, when it's over, it's over.
It's
Don't
over.
try. Don't try, because the same exact things were popping up, and the same things were happening. And yeah.
Yeah. I always used to think that people change. And I think honestly, people are who they are to their core. And like, you can work on certain things, but they have to work on it for themselves, not for you. And oftentimes people, don't change. It's really hard to change. It takes a lot of awareness to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then have you had situationships since, or has that kind of been the trajectory?
Yeah, so I've had a few situationships, and
Mm-hmm.
then my most recent relationship actually ended basically this time a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one relationship. We were together for 5 months. So again, it's like a very short amount of time, but
Yeah.
it felt so fast and so intense in that amount of time. And besides the one boyfriend who ghosted me,
Mm-hmm.
the other two that I mentioned, I feel like I think it was mutual at some point that
Yeah.
we both knew that for those other two that it wasn't happening. This one, I was completely blindsided.
Oh, wow.
Completely blindsided that it was coming. And it was an incredibly painful breakup to go through and heal through and whatnot. But I also think it was truly the relationship and the breakup that I needed to wake up
To your patterns?
to my patterns, to what is it that I'm doing with my life. So, like my podcast launched about a little less than 2 months after this breakup had happened. And
Yeah.
before this relationship started was when I was really wanting to get back into the podcasting world,
Yeah.
but I wasn't going to, like, I was too scared to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this relationship really was the relationship that woke me up to what are you doing with your life? What is it that's on your heart that you're not doing? Why aren't you doing it? Because it's so clear on the inside what it is you want, but you're not actually acting towards it. And this breakup was the one that because there was no closure, there was no clarity as to what happened. It was the breakup that made me realize you need to be so strong and so safe and secure in yourself
Ooh, yeah.
before you can think of a relationship. And that's not me saying that I wasn't that way before this relationship, because I think things were really started clicking, and I felt
You were
really,
close.
yeah, I felt so good before this relationship. But when this ended, I was pissed that I had no closure and no clarity. Like, I was so mad, and it took me a while to understand, because I remember him sitting in my apartment being like, "I don't owe you anything."
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
here I am on the other side being like, "I'm so hurt. Yes, you do owe me something. You do owe me an explanation as to what this is happening." But with time from that, I realized he was right. He really didn't owe me anything. It takes two people to build a relationship, but it only takes one person to end it. And all he, out of respect, owes you is to tell you that he's done. It's nice to know why, but that's his reason. And it's up to me, up to us, to really find that closure and that clarity on our own.
Yeah.
And so that whole breakup, I think, really led me on a journey to just truly owning my own word, owning what it is that I really want to do, and also just being so clear and strong in my own boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and having to call myself on my own bullshit because I wasn't before.
Yeah. Yeah. When he broke up with you and you didn't get that closure, were you able to point to anything in the relationship where you were like, it might have been that, might have been that? Did you spend your time like analyzing? I'm sure.
I for sure was analyzing. It's really funny. It happened 3 days after Valentine's Day. So it was just like a very like
Good.
weird, weird timing. I had one idea of what it possibly could have been. And we did have a conversation about 2 weeks after we broke up to quote unquote find the closure and bring the closure. And it brought nothing. And so that's also why I'm such a strong advocate of, if you're trying to find that final conversation,
Yeah.
you're trying to fill something in your own self with that
Mm-hmm.
conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to build up this own story in your own head of how it's going to go and how it's going to feel afterwards.
Yeah.
And the odds of that actually happening are probably very small. So if you can have that conversation and you still want to go through with it, absolutely listen to what's best for you. But ultimately, that closure needs to come from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my thoughts, and I played through a lot of different scenarios in my head.
Yeah.
And I received some sort of validation that I knew I was correct by someone that he was friends with that I also knew months later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
knew it. But
Yeah.
it's besides the point now. It doesn't matter.
No, it would make me really have to go inward if someone did give an explanation, because I do think that's human. And if you're spending time with someone to be like, why? Like,
Mhm.
but then to not get that, to have to really look inward. I think that would also send me on a very intense journey
Mhm.
of going inward, and it spiraled you into what you're doing now. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm curious of like, you've dated a lot. You have a ton of experience. You have probably the whole range of experience, Madden. Um, when
Never
you look
thought that
back,
would be my story. I never thought.
when you look back and you look at like just like the people you dated, but the versions of yourself in each thing, does it make sense why you weren't ready for a relation, like the person in each of those? Like, are you able to look back and like understand why you might now be ready in a way that you didn't used to be in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so long story short, I have a number of tattoos on my body, and
Okay.
all of my tattoos relate to a relationship that I was in and
My
connect.
gosh.
Yeah. And connect to basically what is it that I learned
Mm-hmm.
from those relationships, or what did I need in
Wait,
those
can we go
relationships?
through them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna ask you like what lessons, like, because not only like it's not as much about them, but it's about like what you've brought with you forever now,
Mhm.
rather than the person, and you literally have them on your body. You were
Yeah.
meant to be a relationship coach. This is crazy. Okay.
So I should say my very first two tattoos had to do with
Yeah.
my relationship with myself. So those
Okay.
ones like aside. So after my long-term relationship, I got the faces of the moon
Mm-hmm.
on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
There were lots of moments in that relationship where I just didn't feel complete. I didn't feel enough. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
I was lacking something. And
Mm-hmm.
it was also in that relationship where I discovered my obsession and love of spirituality.
Yeah.
So that's where the moon phases come in, just the connection to the moon. But also, it's this analogy of the moon goes through all these phases, and there's only one phase where she's truly fully illuminated in the sky. Like the
Mm-hmm.
full moon is the only phase out of the entire cycle you see the entirety of it. And yet the moon is always whole. It
Yeah.
just depends on how the light is hitting it and how we're
Oh,
there. And
love
so,
that.
same exact thing with us, that we'll go through stages, we'll go through phases where we feel like we might be missing something, we might feel like we're lacking, but at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, you're truly still whole. You're truly
Mm-hmm.
still all you.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
So
beautiful.
that that was that one. And then okay, so 1, 2, 3. And then I have to like think about all of them at the same time. So then my relationship with the Colorado man who
Yep.
ghosted me, I got two in that time.
The names that we have for these men are so funny. It's always like Colorado man. This one goes. It's, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
I have so many.
I do too.
I have so many. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, so during that one, afterwards, I have a Hamsa third eye on the back of my
Mm-hmm.
arm,
Mm-hmm.
and the third eye is the protection against evil. And so,
Mm.
again, spirituality connection. But after my long term breakup,
Yeah.
how that all ended was really shitty. And then this whole thing was really shitty and how it all ended. And it was after that when I was like, what is my luck? Like, why do these keep ending in just not a great way?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the third eye came in, of just being protected. Everything
Mm-hmm.
has a point. And then there's a lot of religious meanings and connections just to the Hamsa in general. So there's that one. And then I also have a rose on my body on the left side. And
Mm.
so the left side of our body is the feminine side, and the right side of our body is the masculine side.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started to connect even more fully to my femininity and sensuality in that lustful relationship. And so the flower represents how, again, it's on the right side, so femininity. But in order for a flower, a rose to fully bloom, she also needs the radiance and the leadership from the sun. And so in order for her to fully bloom, she needs that sun. And so it's also a symbol of like waiting for the masculine.
Wait, are you gonna get a son when you find your person?
I want my person to get the sun, but
Oh
maybe.
my gosh, that would be so cool.
So then moving on, which one did I get next? I have the word courage on my arm. And so I got that with the one who I basically ripped the label out of our relationship, but we still dated, essentially to have the courage to speak up for what it is that you need and how you truly feel. And then after that relationship ended, I took, was it a year off from dating? And in that year off, did a lot of growth, lot of growth. And so then I got a butterfly on the back of my arm, basically being like, okay, new life is coming, feeling like I'm finally ready to fly and to bloom. And that's when this last relationship came in a few months after I had gotten that. And then after that ended, I have a mandala on my knee, and a mandala also represents basically how everything is interconnected. And so in that, understanding that this relationship had to end for a reason, you might not know it right now in the midst of it, but it's interconnected to the greater whole in your greater picture.
Yeah, and they all go together, and that's so, it's like a map. It's a map to your person, kind of. Something I always just think about is just like kind of all the things we have to go through to become the version of ourselves to get the thing that we want the most, like to become the version of yourself that can manifest the sun, your person, but also the person that can genuinely like hold that relationship and like not just attract it but be able to keep it. Look, yeah, like we talked about this, but like looking back at everything, what are like the main like things you notice in how you show up in dating that like show you that it's all like been for something, or that if, like how do you integrate those lessons with how you show up now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Having to think about
It's probably so many things,
all
but
of the different lessons.
everything.
Yeah. I think every single one has brought to light what it is I need to work on. Whether I've worked on it though in the midst of in between the relationship is always hard to say. I think one of my biggest lessons that's always been brought to light in relationships is that I typically struggle to really speak my mind and to share what I want to say without feeling bad or getting nervous what they're going to think and whatnot. And so I would say, especially like with that lesson, I've been so good about it within the past year of being able to speak and to share openly, and also feeling okay about it, knowing that if they don't agree or if they don't like it, that's totally fine. But it's better for me to come forward and talk about what I need to say than just hold it back. One relationship that I didn't mention, which was a situationship that actually also inspired the podcast, but that relationship, as well as the Colorado one, really brought forward how anxious I can get when things aren't happening in a way that I think they should happen. And so that brought me into actually going to therapy to work on why do I feel so anxious? What are the thoughts coming up in my head? What do they mean? What is my reality versus what is actual reality? And then again, bringing forward communication and all of that. But I would say with all of these lessons, I finally know and understand how it feels to date from a really grounded and secure place.
Yeah, you feel whole. Like you feel like you've integrated a lot of yourself back to wholeness.
So much.
Yeah. From like everything that I hear, because it's like you're reclaiming like all these different parts of yourself and all these different pieces. I feel like we're also low-key just like healing little inner child wounds like through each relationship. But I feel like the main thing I'm like pulling together is just like a trust in your authenticity of like, I'm going to show up and be who I am, and I'm going to ask for what I need, and I'm going to be okay with myself if it doesn't work out while I am being who I am.
Yeah. Which is also hard to do when you're dating, because you're dating to find, I don't even want to say your person, but if you're out there dating with intention, you're out there dating to find connection, essentially. And even when you lead with your authentic self, when it doesn't click or it doesn't hit, like it doesn't work, it still is hard.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean your human emotions are going to go away, because you're probably always going to have them. You're probably always going to be a little sad if something doesn't work out, or, but I think the way that you relate to your human emotions is different. You maybe less shame
Yeah.
with yourself,
Yeah.
and maybe understanding what they mean and how to work with them.
Yeah.
And how to communicate them too. Yeah. Um, I have a quick little, I thought this would be fun, like a little rapid fire, like I wrote like 5 situations that like how you would operate now in healthy dating mode, how you would respond to them now.
I have to, okay. I can be a bitch sometimes, so I'm going to have to also.
No, but it's like how you would, like, not even if it is bitchy, even if it is like whatever. And you're welcome to share too quick if like how you might used to have gone about it, but we'll just go through them quick.
Yeah.
Okay, the first situation is he tells you meet on an app and he just got out of a relationship, he wants to go on a date, but he tells you he isn't sure what he wants right now, but he still wants to meet up.
Ooh. I've been there.
Yep. I've gotten that so many times.
I think where I am now, though, and have also then experienced that, I think now I truly would answer, I appreciate your honesty. From my perspective, I am dating from a place of I do know what I want, and I am ready for a serious, like, true relationship. So I think it's great that you're still exploring what it is that you want, but I don't think that this would be worthwhile for either one of us.
Wow. Yeah. It's hard to give up something that you're like, maybe that could work, but then it's like hearing what they're saying and knowing what you want. It's like very brave to be like, I'm giving up that possibility if it isn't aligned.
I think also just from experience dating people who are just out of a relationship, it's a slippery slope and they need some time. And I don't really want to be part of that time.
I don't want to be part of that time. And I also feel like I'm not going to be the girl. That the girl is going to be like in a year from now. And I don't want to be the in between girl.
Exactly.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm so tired. Okay. Second thing, you've been dating someone. Oh my gosh. This is kind of relates to a past story. I was like, holy shit. I wrote this before. Okay. You're dating someone where the effort was matched at first, but now they're starting to breadcrumb you. Okay.
Ooh.
And you notice what you do now. You notice you're the one making the plans, giving the effort, more communicating, more in it. Like, how would you go about that now? You can even think about that past relationship. Yeah.
I think if we've been dating for a little while and now things are starting to, you feel a shift in energy, I think just asking for clarity as to, are we still on the same page, or what are your intentions? And just be honest. I feel as though things have shifted, and if that's okay, this is like so cheesy. If that's okay, that's totally fine. But I value my time and I value your time. And so if this is no longer something that you feel as though you want to pour into, just let me know.
Okay. It's like a lot of good communication.
Yeah.
It's clear.
And though if they say things haven't changed and then they don't change their behavior, then you're done.
You
Then
gotta
you
go.
walk. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. This is a more simple one. You're on a first date and they don't ask you any questions about yourself. And you're the one asking all the questions.
I've been there.
I've been there so many times.
Bye.
Bye.
I actually think, okay, so this is my kind of not secret to a good first date, but it gives you a lot of information. I think you need to be really good at asking questions, and you can have 3 or 4 really good questions that you want to get to know about them. And I'm not saying I want to know where you grew up or why you're doing the job you're doing, actually getting to know them for who they are. And if they answer the question and don't turn your good question back on yourself and they don't know how to reciprocate, it's a pretty clear sign.
Yeah, I've gone on dates where it's like, well, some questions it's like they can't reciprocate because it's extremely personal to them. But if it's like, where is your favorite place you've traveled to or whatever, and they just are like, Scotland, and they just sit there, it's like, I can't live like this.
Do you want more detail? Come on, please.
It's the art of like banter, even like them being able to like respond in a cool way and then ask you even something else back, but it's that reciprocal nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really like you're gonna be talking to this person for the rest of your life. So I can't live like that.
Yeah.
Okay. You've been on 3 dates and they tell you they want kids in the future, but you do not want them.
This is like so real because that was me for a really long time. Um, you have to end it.
Yeah. Okay.
I like
Yeah.
there's no other way. I grew up with a single parent.
Mhm.
I've dated single parents. The topic of kids is so personal to me, and I actually get really heated up because I don't think we actually take it seriously enough sometimes in dating. It's a question I will ask. If I don't know on date 1, I will ask by date 2. I need to know. For the longest time, I myself was the I don't know if I want kids. And so if I was going on dates with someone that they knew 100% to their core, they
That they did.
need to be a parent and they are going to be a parent, I knew I was not going to be the girl for them because it's not fair to date people when they're 100% certain on this question and you don't know. And the same is exact true if you're a no and he's a yes, or vice versa. You are wasting each other's time because that is not a topic that you can go into a relationship just crossing your fingers that they'll change their mind.
So many people do that though. That's like the thing. It's like quick side question of like when you feel like there's those lack of the alignment back in the past versus now, did you notice that you used to kind of like wait and hope and try to change and have conversations and like ignore versus now maybe being more like clear cut, like I hear you, done?
No, I even on dating apps, if they had kids or they wanted kids, I wouldn't even match.
Yeah.
I would typically only date people that were adamantly also no or also open to exploring the conversation and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what that meant. But
Yeah.
if they were 100% yes, I was 100% no for them.
Yeah. If you had someone who's maybe 40-50% yes, you maybe would have been like, okay, but like, yeah, I think, yeah, it's alignment is so important. I used to like ignore so many things in the past. I'd hear what people are telling me and I'd still be like, maybe things can change. And then they wouldn't change. And then there I was with wasted time. So,
Mm-hmm.
my last one's a little bit deeper, but you're dating someone who leans more avoidant, and during conflict, they tend to back away and you tend to lean in. And so you have like a conflict and they tell you that they need time alone and you're like feeling triggered. Like, how do you go about it now?
It's funny because I also need time after
Okay,
conflict.
you do?
I don't want to hash it out right away. Because I'm that type of person that I will just speak to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and none of my thoughts are cohesive, and it's just me getting words out
Yeah.
and I want the last say. And so
Yeah.
I need time to cool off. But I think if you tend to lean more anxious
Mm-hmm.
and they tend to lean more avoidant and you're having conflict and you really want to resolve it, you need to respect each other's boundaries, but I think also with getting clarity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you can assess in that moment, I hear you that you need time. Can we agree that we'll revisit this tomorrow? Or if it was in the morning, can we revisit this afternoon? Or asking for how much time would you like so that we
I
can come
love that.
back together, so that gives, because your anxious brain is wanting some sort of clarity, something tangible
Certainty.
to grasp onto. And right now, the I need time and space is like, well, how much time and space do
Forever.
you need?
Yeah.
So I think being able to bring some of it back down to ground and get clarification
I
would be
love
the
that.
best solution in this case.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I love that. Um, well, I think that's most of my questions for you. I guess my last question for you, for anyone who's just feeling like they're a little hopeless in the dating scene, and they're feeling like they've dated a lot of the people maybe that you've dated or I've dated, or just have had a lot of the experiences where they're like, I'm not really having any luck and I'm feeling pretty hopeless. There's a lot of toxicity out there. Maybe they're tired of the apps. Like, what would you have any like words of hope or wisdom for people who are just kind of at that point where they're like, I'm very tired and very over it and I
Yeah.
want a real healthy relationship?
Y'all, I hear you. I hear you. I totally understand. A little side note of hope, dating can be and gets to be so fun. However, if you are feeling on the side of you're just tired, you're over it, you're burnt out, you're over the apps, I think my first piece of advice would be just do a detox. So
Yeah.
get rid of the apps, delete everything, but then also go through your social media and who are you following? What is it that's popping up on your pages? Because a lot of what we consume is also how we start to think.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with our friends. If we start to talk about dating in a really bad light over and over and over again, of course you're going to feel drained and you're going to feel tired. So, starting to do a detox and a little bit broader awareness of how you're actually consuming
Mm-hmm.
dating content can help a lot. And taking some time off just to breathe can be really beneficial.
Yeah.
And then also, again, I'm all about patterns. We like to say that we're dating all of these people and we're so tired of it. But at some point, you need to get really honest with yourself and ask yourself, what is it about me? What is it that I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Where are my thoughts going? We also need to take accountability for our own dating journey and
Mm-hmm.
how we can also impact where it goes.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
start to take that accountability and responsibility for yourself and start to notice what it is that you yourself are aware of and
Mm-hmm.
what your patterns are, you can start to shift your own behavior and things that you might have, again, in the situationship, you might have let go for 3-4 months and then you have that time wasted. You're going to start picking up on things way sooner. So it doesn't even feel like a waste of time. You're just over it. You're done. And then you keep moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like these patterns, like for everyone, is going to differ. It might be like a deep pattern, might be just learning to trust yourself more, but like looking at what are you noticing in each encounter that you're having,
Mm-hmm.
um, that you need to, yeah, be able to work through.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well, is there any last words you want to leave people with? Is there anything left on your heart that you feel like you didn't get to share or that you want to
Ooh,
jam on?
that's so deep. What do I want to share? I think just reinforcing to people that what they crave and finding that type of relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it does exist.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is going to kind of go against what I just said about taking a break.
Yeah.
I do like breaks are necessary, and so take
Totally.
them when you need to. But at the same time, if we're just sitting on our couch swiping and then not doing anything and not getting off of our couch, you're not going to find it.
Yeah.
And so dating also takes work, but do the work on yourself and be in the mindset to do the
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah. Yeah, love is worth it. I
Yeah.
think like as hopeless as anybody feels, like I feel like one day when we're out of this, we'll be like, ha ha ha, that was all a lot of like fun lessons and like craziness, but we'll be like so grateful that we learned what we did and that we kept going to have that love because that's ultimately the point of all this, right? So
Yeah.
that we can have that and be
Yeah.
ready for it.
And grounded and secure can be really scary when you come from anxious or avoidant.
Yeah.
But again, if you know your patterns and you know what it is you want, slow things down and really assess from a place of groundedness yourself rather than from your anxious or your avoidant self.
Yeah. I love that. Well, where can people find you and how can they work with you and connect with you?
I love that. Y'all, I hang out on Instagram basically, and it's just at Madden Zappa. And you can work with me one to one for coaching, or you can also tune into the podcast. We're dating the same guy, weekly episodes.
Amazing. I'll link everything in the show notes. And then if you have anything like any new offers by then, I'll make sure to link them.
Yeah.
And you have such good content. Even just that, like being along for your page and just like tuning in. I feel like I learned so many new things from what you are talking about. I love when you come on my feed. I'm like, I listen to it while I'm like working. I just have it sitting there and I listen. I love it.
Thank you.